After video surfaced of UFC president Dana White slapping his wife on New Year's Eve, the debut of his new show on TBS, Power Slap League, has been delayed. The show was originally due to debut on January 11th on TBS. It has since been pushed back to January 18th, so it only gets pushed back by 1 week. Dana White has been criticized by many members of the press, many members of the public for his actions, and I'm not going to play the video because I don't think that is in good taste. However, if you have not seen it, all I will say is there's really no defense of it. Dana White, a 200-something pound, very jacked up, powerful man, took his hand with a lot of force and slapped his wife multiple times very hard. That is easy to see. And I'm not going to get into the runaround of, oh, who hit who deserved. I'm not going to get into that. People want to talk about the whole, there's this entire BS bullshit argument about, well, equal rights. If a man had, no. There is no excuse. There's no excuse really for violence in a lot of situations. In this situation, there is no way anyone should be trying to defend the actions of Dana White. And if you don't take my word for it, you should take the words from Dana White, who said that there was no excuse. Dana White told TMZ, quote, "You've heard me say this over the years. There's never an excuse for a guy to put his hands on a woman." He went on to say, "I'm literally making no excuses for this thing at all. It's never happened before. It's the first time it's ever happened. People are going to say what they're going to say. It is what it is. Whatever people say is deserved. I deserve it." Which I'm not going to give Dana White credit, if that's what people are wondering. He's right, though. He does not deserve a benefit of the doubt here. He's a strong guy, you could argue, wrote it out guy, who put his hands on a woman who is, at least from the video and the pictures I've seen, about half his size. Someone who he can hurt pretty easily, given the fact that he also does MMA and things like that. He trains. And the response online, the response from the MMA world, the response from much of the press, I think has been honestly light compared to responses we've seen in other situations. And I think it speaks to two things. Number one, it speaks to the power that Dana White has over MMA. And this is not me trying to say that Dana White directly is telling people, oh, well, don't make a big deal out of this or else. I think when you're in a position of power like Dana White is, where he is the president of the biggest MMA company in the world, when he has had influence over the sport of mixed martial arts and the amount of influence he's had for years and the amount of mixed martial artists that have come up with Dana White at the helm, it's very difficult, I think, for us to assume that there isn't at least somewhat a personal relationship that he has with these people that leads them to defend him. And it's worth to note that Anne, his wife, did also release a statement in which he described the incident as isolated. They've been married for 30 years. They reside in Las Vegas. I'm not going to speak on their marriage because that is none of my business. I'm not going to speak on assumptions of what may have happened in the past or anything like that. I'm going to stick to what we know. Dana White, one of the most powerful people in sports in general, put his hands on a woman on video and could be seen physically abusing his wife on video. And right now, it does not seem like the UFC is going to take any real action. At this moment, the only action being taken is by TBS, which is putting his show off by 1 week. His show, by the way, which is called Power Slap League, which the irony, it honestly is a little disappointing the way that people have responded. I read one article, I forgot who it was by, who said that basically Dana White should just go away for like a month or two from UFC and then come back. They pushed back a UFC event as well, just out of the sensitivities and all that. I don't know. Maybe that's the reason. It all cries of BS. It all cries of or stinks, I should say, of just it you know what it stinks of? This at the end of the day stinks of we're gonna do the bare minimum to make it look like we are reprimanding this man. But at the same time, we're not gonna take any real action against him. And I don't know what the real action would be. Obviously, number one, you need to make sure that he's not hurting people, especially physically abusing women. Number two, you would think that you would need him to take time away at bare minimum, to go through a process of understanding why what he did was wrong and at least coping with it. If not, charges being brought. We still don't know what's going to happen with that. I assume from all the reports, it does not seem like his wife is going to be pressing charges against him. But we've seen this before. I think the biggest example would be Ray Rice. Ray Rice, that video came out about Ray Rice, right? Where he could be seen knocking his at the time fiance out. Now it's his wife. And until that video came out, the response was pretty terrible in that they didn't really do much. They suspended him for 2 games, and then they just moved forward. And then the video came out, and they saw what happened, and you couldn't, which the NFL already knew that was the video. It was just when the video came out, that's when they suspended him indefinitely. My thing is, when you have someone representing your sport and your company like Dana White does UFC, and Dana White is at the forefront of his company like no other person in sports. Like Dana White is so tied to the sport of UFC, you genuinely cannot differentiate between the two at some points. Like UFC, he has been the face of MMA, the face of UFC for such a long time. And for this to happen, and for the response to be so mid, for the response to be so just like, what are we doing here? I'm disappointed in the MMA world. There are actually fighters, by the way, who are defending what he did. There are fighters who are defending what he did. There are fighters who are making all these excuses. And to those people, I say, I hope your checkbooks or your bank account's looking good. I assume it is. But like we seriously need to have a discussion, man, about the power some of these people have over these sports like MMA, like professional wrestling and all that. And when these things happen, we need to take it seriously. That's all I'm saying. It just does not seem to me that people in the MMA world, the people in the sports world in general, and a lot of UFC fans are taking this seriously at all. Because they would rather make excuses for Dana White because they like the way he talks, because they like the way he runs things, because they like the way his politics are. They would rather make excuses for things like that than criticize a man for doing something that was fundamentally the wrong thing. That was fundamentally a bad thing. That was fundamentally abusive. When you slap someone multiple times, someone who is 100% weaker than you physically, I'm just saying we should take it seriously. And it doesn't look like our society is. It doesn't look like MMA is. It doesn't look like TBS is. And it kind of makes me sick. Not gonna lie. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Be sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released.